Welcome everybody to this very important and very useful webinar. My name is Ralph Bental. I am Vice President of the Israel Latin America Chamber of Commerce, and myself also Chief Financial Officer of a medical device company. And we're obviously very excited to be here together this morning and this evening. Some of us are located here in Israel, others in Costa Rica, and many participants from other parts of the world, so we are very excited. So I'll say first of all, welcome on behalf of the hosts of this event, the Embassy of Costa Rica in Israel, and the Trade Promotion Agency of Costa Rica, Procomer, the Investment Promotion Agency of Costa Rica, CINDE, and the Israel Latin American Chamber of Commerce, as I mentioned earlier. And so now we're going to discuss and learn more about why Costa Rica believes it can be a manufacturing hub for the world of medical equipment. And before we get going, I'll just quickly give some logistic and operational comments. We have an agenda of about 1 hour ahead of us with introductory remarks, a couple of major central presentations. We'll have a Q&A session, and then we'll have in closing remarks from the president of CINDE, Mr. Eric Scharf. And you'll notice there'll be room to present whilst the event is ongoing, to submit your Q&A, your questions, by using the Q&A button, and they will be addressed later on. And you should all know, of course, that all the information and the PowerPoints presented here will be provided to the participants, as will a recording of the event, and of course also the contact information for all the relevant people participating. So we will have a full information pack to take us along, and that's very important. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Roberto Spindle, who's the president of the Israel Latin America Chamber of Commerce, a gentleman and a good friend of mine, and we've been working together for many years, who gives his heart and soul to everything to do with Israeli business and culture in Latin America. So please, Roberto.
Thank you very much, Ralph. Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon, participants in Israel. Good morning in Costa Rica. My dear friend, Ambassador Oren Barel, my dear friend, Consul Javier Rojas, friends of CINDE, friends of Procomer. It's a real pleasure to be here this afternoon. You know that for many of us, or for many Israelis, Costa Rica is a place to go for vacation, to go to the beach, pura vida, 100% natural, and all those nice slogans, but very few people here know the potential, the business potential of Costa Rica for manufacturing, for using it as a center for working and distributing the products or the services all over Central and South America. So for us, it's a very, as the Chamber of Commerce, which is the largest and most important business men and business companies organization in Israel dealing with Latin America, for us it's a very important event, and I'm very glad about of this initiative taken by Procomer, by CINDE, because for us it's very important to know new markets, to know new places, and to look for new alternatives. I must say that this last year has been a challenge for all of us, it goes without saying, but I guess that we at the Chamber of Commerce, we made from lemons, we made the lemonade, and from the lemonade we're going to make margaritas very soon. And the Zoom, or the Zoom era that we're going through has helped us to get closer to markets that we had no relationship before that. And I must say that Costa Rica has been the pioneer in this sense, and thanks to great representatives, great professionals like Diana Cordero, which she's more than a friend, than a colleague. I think there's nobody in Israel that doesn't know Diana Cordero, because she has knocked all the doors. And thanks to her, last year, the year of the Corona, there were a few business made virtually through Zoom, something that as Latin American, as Israel, I couldn't believe. But I thank again to the organizers. I thank especially to Diana. Ishar Koach, I know that for Diana it's a special day today, so we send her a big hug. I want to thank also to Amit Titelman, the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, that is behind the scenes all the time, and to my dear friend Ralph Bental, Vice President of the Chamber, and a strong support. And I hope that very soon we'll be able to have the first post-COVID business delegation to Costa Rica. And as we said before at the beginning of the preparation of this meeting, that we can talk tachlis, we can talk straight to the point. Israelis like to go straight to the bottom line. So good luck to all of us, and I hope you all enjoy and find this seminar, this webinar successful. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Roberto, for your kind words of introduction there. And moving straight on, obviously, I'd also like to welcome all and any diplomatic staff joining us today and official government officials. Thank you very much also for being here. And we very much would like to welcome now and invite His Excellency Oren Barel, the Israeli ambassador to Costa Rica, to say some words of welcome and introduction. Bakasha.
Good day, everybody, and good evening to my friends in Israel, and good morning here in Costa Rica. First of all, thank you all our friends from the Latin America Chamber of Commerce, chaired by the Roberto Spindle, our friends from CINDE, chaired by the Eric Scharf, the friends from Procomer, and of course my colleague from the Costa Rican Embassy, Javier Rojas. Buenas tardes, ahí in Tel Aviv. I think that this webinar comes in a very important moment. Well, everybody understands the significance of the medical equipment, and in fact, everybody understands the strategic importance that it represents for the world economy and for the national economies. When it comes to our relationship with Costa Rica, I must admit that Israel has a very good reputation here. We have a strong, good historical relationship from day one of the creation of the State of Israel. Here, there's a lot of appreciation to the Israeli technology, Israeli startups, Israeli innovation, and of course, there is a high sympathy to the land of the Bible. Costa Rica itself, and for the Israeli who don't know it, I will complete what Roberto started saying. It's not only sand and beaches, which are of course beautiful. It's a lovely democracy, a very flourishing and functioning open market economy. Protecting investment is done here on the high level. And in fact, as part of the OECD, they are obliged like us to a higher standard in the world. One thing that I discovered here in Costa Rica, and again, maybe it's not well known outside, it's the high level of the human capital in Costa Rica, which in fact enabled them to reach higher standards in certification and to mitigate all the regulation requirements in the US and in Europe, which again represent a very interesting opportunity for developing business with the TICOs, as we call them. In fact, I believe that the coming year, it's a year of business opportunities, especially for the private sector. Governments have a lot of debt. They wouldn't be able to invest as much as they used to in those sectors, and they will ask the private sector to come to invest, and will even give a lot of benefits. And I guess my colleagues from Costa Rica will elaborate more on the different schemes of cooperation that exist here. So the private sector, in fact, is the one who will lead the strategy of getting out from this crisis, and Israeli investment in that case will be very welcomed here. Our embassy stands for your service, in fact, to help Israeli businessmen to develop ties in Costa Rica, and of course, to help Costa Ricans to start to discover the Israeli market, either as partners or an export destination. And in any case, we in the embassy, we are ready to stand and help you with any kind of requirement that you need. And as the slogan that they are saying in Costa Rica, which is Pura Vida, which is a different kind of written that sometimes we acquired in Israel. But then again, they are a very good businessman, reliable one, which I definitely recommend to keep on looking for a business opportunity, especially in this strategic sector, which is medical equipment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Oren Barel, for your words and for the exciting enthusiasm that you bring to your position out in Costa Rica. And speaking on behalf of a major medical device company myself, we obviously very interested to hear what Costa Rica has to offer, and we ourselves have a manufacturing platform which is worldwide, so this will be very interesting. Thank you. So I'd like now to introduce our third introductory remarks from Javier Rojas, who is the Charge d'Affaires at the Embassy of Costa Rica here in Israel. So you're on the Israeli side today, geographically wise. So please, Mr. Rojas, we'll welcome your remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vental. It is a pleasure for me to be here today. I want to thank Mr. Roberto Spindle and the Chamber of Commerce Israel Latin America. I want to thank Diana Cordero of Procomer, Mr. Eric Scharf, Mrs. Pilar Madrigal, and Carolina Sanchez of CINDE. I welcome His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador Barel, and I also want to send special thanks to our honorary consul in Israel, Mr. Nathaniel Aluf, for his constant support and friendship. As you know, and Ambassador Barel mentioned, the pandemic of COVID-19 has focused the attention of people the world over on the quality of healthcare and the need for constant innovation in the field of life sciences. The development of highly effective vaccines in just under a year is a technological and medical feat that would have not been possible just a few years ago. Costa Rica understands this reality and has become a medical equipment manufacturing hub for Latin America. In the last decades, the Costa Rican economy has greatly diversified, and today medical equipment is the country's #1 export. Costa Rica offers very favorable conditions for investment, being one of the oldest and most stable democracies in the region, and having a capable and educated workforce. Since Israel is one of the most innovative countries in the world, it is just natural that Costa Rica looks for Israel as a partner in these endeavors. It is a privilege for us to have an office of Procomer here in Israel, very aptly represented by Mrs. Diana Cordero. Procomer has been consistently ranked as the #1 export promotion agency in the entire world. It is a privilege as well to have on this webinar 3 panelists from CINDE, the Costa Rican agency specialized in promoting foreign direct investment, attracting foreign direct investment to Costa Rica, which has also been consistently ranked as the #1 agency of its kind in the world. So for the participants of this webinar, you have here representatives from 2 of the best promotion agencies in the world. So I invite you to take advantage of this unique opportunity and without further ado, I yield the floor back to Mr. Bental.
Thank you very much, Javier, and it's our pleasure also hosting you here in Israel and hoping that you are enjoying your time in this beautiful country.
Thank you very much.
You yourself coming from another beautiful country, so we have a lot in common. So now we'll move on to the first central presentation for this webinar. I must say I have a lot of empathy and admiration for the company that is about to be presented. I myself worked for many years for NASDAQ traded companies. And as I understand, Establishment Labs was the first Costa Rican company to be traded on, to do an IPO on NASDAQ in July of 2018, which is a tremendous success in itself and a tremendous platform for future success of the company. So I'd like to introduce Denise Dachlis. Denise is the Senior Director for Research, Development and Innovation at Establishment Labs. So she has a huge amount of responsibility and I'm sure she's very good at it. So please, Denise, enlighten us what your company does and your success in Costa Rica. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bental. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Naim meod liot hayom itchem. And I'll switch to English because having a full presentation in Hebrew would be hard for me. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our company, Establishment Labs, which indeed is the first Costa Rican, I think still the only Costa Rican company to be publicly traded in NASDAQ or any US stock market, trade market. And this is an interesting story of a small Costa Rican company that had a dream and that had innovative drive that you so often see in Israel, but maybe rarely see in countries such as ours. And we took the challenge of changing an industry, disrupting an industry dominated by big players, Allergan, Johnson & Johnson, and saying we can do better. And we can proudly say now that we are #1 or #2 in the world, depending in the regions, in the breast implant industry. And we've overcome the big players such as Johnson & Johnson and Allergan just through innovation, safety, hard work. And I'll try to tell you a little bit of our story and also how it relates to the role that Costa Rica plays in it. And right now, as a publicly traded company, we can make the decision to move anywhere in the world. And we've decided to keep investing in Costa Rica and stay in Costa Rica because of the benefits that it provides us and the good things that Costa Rica has to offer. I'm very glad to answer any questions at the end and hope you enjoy our story. So we proudly say that we are a company focused on women's health, and we are primarily focused on breast implants, breast health and reconstruction. However, we are a truly women's health company. And everything we do is science-based and patient-centric design, working together with the best in the world, no matter where they are located. One of the advantages that we have nowadays is the capability of having a global environment where you should be located in an area that gives you the most advantages, but be open to this globalization and this global contact around the world. Our ticker, by the way, is ESTA. You can look it up in the NASDAQ. Our focus, as I was telling you, is breast health, initially in aesthetics and reconstruction. And the brand of our product is Motiva Implants. And we've developed, and I'll show you in a little bit, successive innovations year by year that has brought us closer to being market leaders. We already are in many of the markets. Focusing on innovation. How do we bring what's best for the patient? This is an industry that was not only dominated by two very large players who thought of this industry as a commodity, but also by men. Most plastic surgeons still today are male, and most of the executives in the large companies that work in this industry are male. And we shifted that focus because we are focusing on the women, on the patient, on these women that had a mastectomy, that is undergoing breast cancer treatment and wants a difference in her life. And we represent that throughout our company, all the way from our focus, our marketing, our partnerships, and even the executives at our team, which we are proudly a majority of women. Something we're very proud of, as I was telling you, best implant in the market, not only are saying, but published, peer-reviewed publications, surgeons around the world agree, even regulators are agreeing that it's the best implant in the market. And it's designed, manufactured, and commercialized from Costa Rica. We have our R&D here, we have our headquarters here, and even though we have people in over 80 countries, everything from top executives, sales force, and legal offices, different types of offices around the world, our headquarters is still in Costa Rica. We've grown in Costa Rica from a very small startup of 3 people to being over 600 persons right now. And we proudly do everything in-house. And I think that's a very nice story that will resonate with many of you. Yes, we are a manufacturing hub in Costa Rica, but we can do more. We have highly talented people. We do all of our R&D team, which is the team that I lead, is based in Costa Rica. And we've achieved great innovation and great success because of the talent of the people, the creativity of the people, hardworking, passionate, and very well-prepared individuals that you can get here in Costa Rica. Our focus, scientific and clinical research, implantable devices, digital technologies, and our patients' experiences. We work with class 3 devices. So these are the most highly regulated medical devices, as you all are aware of. And we're able to achieve high levels of quality and high levels of standards and regulations for all of our class 3 devices from our manufacturing in Costa Rica, but also from our product design here in Costa Rica. Our vision, bring health, joy, and inspiration to women in their aesthetic journeys. We truly believe this is about the women. This is about joining them in their journeys, bringing them health and joy, because sometimes you might have cured the cancer, but you need joy in your life and you need to feel like a full person and a full woman. Our mission to reinvent aesthetics with innovative femtech to create value for all of our stakeholders. We used to have a mission that said we would like to transform our industry. However, we've achieved that. So now we're moving a step forward and we really want to reinvent aesthetics. And we're moving very strongly towards the femtech world, which is an area where we proudly made a lot of partnerships and some collaborations with a lot of Israeli companies, startups, well-established, even research and academia in Israel, who are pioneers in this femtech area. And we are very proud to be part of that partnership. I'm going to tell you a little bit of how we started and how we've gotten to where we are today. It all started with this blender, out of curiosity at its best. So our CEO, Juan Jose Chacon, comes from a family of plastic surgeons, and he was actually a distributor of breast implants. And he had this idea in the back of his mind that things could be better, that implant was not necessarily good for patients. And that was 2004, and I'll show you the timeline in a little bit. But right now we know that these implants that were the best in class 10 years ago have now been linked to a specific type of cancer, and they have been recalled from the market. And because we already had a feeling that there was no science behind this product, there was no true innovation. And he had an idea, how can we do things different? So he brought a group of very talented engineers, and with this blender, which we still have at our lab and we still use whenever we create a new product, they started mixing what would become the future of the breast implant industry. So this is JJ's blender, and it was only $350. And it all started in JJ's parents' garage, which you can see there, with 3 very smart engineers. This is Rolando, one of them, still in the company, and creating, well, the blender, you can see there, what would be the future of breast implants. What he has in his hands is the silicone that was being mixed in this blender in order to create what we thought was revolutionary and science-based. So we worked, for example, with MIT to create scientific background and data that backs up any innovation that we work on. It's not just a commodity, it's not just getting a product out there, but how can you make the most of this product? We didn't have money to get a real oven, industrial oven, so we used a pizza oven to create these first batches. And it's really interesting. The first investors, who was a family from France, was coming to Costa Rica, wanted to see the first batch of implants. The pizza oven broke down, so everybody cooking implants in their ovens at their houses. But that's the way true startups come to life. And if you truly believe in what you're doing, it's going to bring good results at the end. This oven is still in use, but we use it for pizza. Once a year, we celebrate our anniversary cooking pizza in the first oven where the first implants were prepared. 2009, after our first seed money from investors came, we were able to start the first facility in the industrial park of Coyol, which is where many of the medical devices companies are in Costa Rica. And I would like to bring this up because we started in a very small building, And then we needed to grow. We moved to a second building, and we're already building our third building, which is our headquarters, and it's going to be a campus, an innovation campus, all at the same place. So that's a good thing that Costa Rica has offered us, and it's the opportunity to grow with the same benefits, with the same capabilities, but to the scale that we need at that moment. So when we were just a startup, when we only needed a small space, we had that opportunity, and we had the chance to grow and expand as we needed it, all the way to an innovation campus that's going to be revolutionary in the area. This is a picture from 2019. Actually, this was the building that we built in 2017. It's our second building, state of the art, fully green. We are fueled by solar panels, we have ice banks, and we have a lot of technology that makes it best in class. We're LEED certified gold, which was the first facility in Costa Rica to be certified LEED gold. We are innovative all around, not just on our products. And right in front of it, actually, you can see the space here. We are now building our innovation campus. So we have had that flexibility of growing within the same area as our company needs kept evolving. A little bit about our story. So I told you the idea started in 2004. By 2009, we had finalized R&D. And 2010, we launched our first generation of implants. And I'll walk you through a little bit of what those innovations included. But as you can see, by 2011, we had obtained our CE mark. And then by 2018, we started our US clinical trial. So this is an important achievement. FDA is very stringent, and you probably have had experiences with them. And for breast implants specifically, they're extremely stringent. So we have to run a 10-year study where you have to follow patients for 10 years and go all the way to 800 patients. And we've been able not only to start that trial, but also manage it and lead it from Costa Rica. That's also the year we became listed on NASDAQ. That's the year of our IPO. And nowadays we are in over 80 countries. We've sold, and it says over 1 million, but we're up to 1.5 million implants worldwide. And we've celebrated our 10th anniversary of the Motiva implants in the market. So we've evolved from a product architecture where we started with one product that was innovative and then we started gaining market share to a true ecosystem where we can satisfy the needs of plastic surgeons around the world. Nowadays, we're moving away, well, still breast implants is our core, but we're including additional technologies such as 3D systems, biosensing capabilities, and many other technologies that work for women and for women's health. Okay, as I told you, I think it's not working. 1 second. 2018 was the year we became listed in NASDAQ. A big milestone, not only for our company, but also for Costa Rica, that showcases that when you truly believe that you're doing the right thing and you're working hard, when you're making things happen, you can see the fruits of that hard work. And as our CEO said that day, today's listing on NASDAQ represents a significant milestone for Establishment Labs. Our shareholders, it's an honor to be the first company headquartered in Costa Rica to be listed on a major stock exchange in the United States. And we were listed at $18 a share. We are very proudly now at around $80 a share as we continue to bring innovation into the market. This, of course, has opened us the door to make even better partnerships, find better people to work with, and expand our footprint around the world. So I told you 2018, we also started our clinical study in the US. We are almost 800 patients. First patient was enrolled in April 2018, and hopefully we will get to the US market very soon. Okay, our motto is safety through innovation. So everything that you do needs to be innovative, but it also needs to account for something. So every innovation that you bring to the market needs to bring safety to our patients, and needs to have an idea behind it that's backed up not only by its safety profile, but also by the science behind it. As we were talking before, we have very high regulatory and quality compliance. These are some of the regulations and audits that we've had. So we meet all of the ISO standards, ASTM standards. We of course have passed all of our certifications by a notified body, ISO 13485, regulations and audits from over 80 countries, of course now with FDA. But we're also certified MDSAP, which is the Medical Device Single Audit Program, which it's an audit of about 5 countries, FDA, USA, Brazil, Australia, Canada, and Japan. This all through our quality management system that we've put in place here at a manufacturing site, but all over our company. Believe me, we've partnered with many companies around the world. It's very rare to see the level of quality and compliance that you see in Costa Rican companies. We sometimes think, let's go partner with this contract manufacturer in the US, and it's very hard for them to get to the level that we like with regards to the quality standard that we set for. Has been very important because all across the medical device industry that we have in Costa Rica, which I think we have over 80 countries, and CINDE can correct me if I'm wrong, that quality chip has been well embedded into the workforce. So we have very highly qualified people who are scientists, engineers, and many other areas that you might find that not only have the technical knowledge, they have the knowledge on how to work with medical devices and how to make medical devices safely. What are the standards? What are the regulations that you need to meet? What's the type of documentation that you need to create? What's the type of quality controls? And we have our education system is very strong. So everybody from the people working on our manufacturing floor to top executives have very high level of English. They have very good writing skills. So they have good presentation skills, and they can understand the importance of quality and the importance of complying with regulations. And I think that's very important because it's really easy to get the message across. Sometimes what we find in some other areas that we as a company has also looked at, it's very difficult to get people all across the company to understand the importance of complying with all the quality requirements and the regulations across the board. So one of the main issues of why Motiva implant became or has become the most advanced implant in the world is just because we focused on our customer needs, which in this case was the women and the patients. And we tried to design a product through innovation that would address the most common issues that patients had to undergo a reoperation. And that's aesthetic reasons, and that's clinical issues. And we started each product bringing up a new innovation into the market. 2010, with our very first product, I would say the biggest innovation was what we call the Motiva Smooth Silk, which is a bioengineered, self-friendly, smooth implant that has a surface that inhibits the lowest inflammatory response in the market. So now we have a lot of data, a lot of work at the MIT, at Professor Langer's lab, at Manchester University, and many other areas in the world that explain why our surface is self-friendly and creates a very low inflammatory response that leads to very little rates of complication. Our post-market surveillance data shows less than 1% complication rates over 10 years, 1.5 million implants in the market. And we have had no issues with regulators in a very complex industry full of regulatory recalls, bans, and a lot of issues, even leading to specific types of cancer linked to the breast implants. We've introduced quality measures, so breast implants require to have a barrier to prevent gel from diffusing out of the shell. We added a blue pigment, so you have a very easy way to do quality control at the site. That's already 2012. In 2014, we introduced what we call Q Inside, which is a microtransponder inside of our implant. This microtransponder gives you traceability. Right now, it only gives you a number, which can be traced all the way back to the raw materials. But we're already working on next generations that will bring biosensing capabilities, big area and opportunity for partnership with MedTech and other industries who are doing temperature sensing, tracking, and other types of and other types of biosensors. 2015, we brought into the market our bestseller, the Motiva Ergonomics, which is an implant that behaves as part of the breast tissue. So women cannot really feel that they have an implant. They actually feel an implant that behaves ergonomically, what we call true tissue dynamics, and that moves as the patient moves and feels as a breast tissue does. And it's of course very elastic, can be inserted to very small incisions, and allows for more comfort. We've evolved beyond breast implants. We've created 3D system, planning system to help surgeons choose what's the right surgery procedure, what's the right type of implant they need to change, and also professionalize a little bit their practice, start moving more to the scientific part, data, surgical part, and less from the art that sometimes plastic surgery is. We've also introduced not only the product itself, but the surgical procedures, how to use, for example, this a hybrid approach where you use a small implant plus a autologous fat, and how do we help our surgeons create procedures that are safer for the patient and that aid to their focus. Last year, we introduced to the market a tissue expander for breast reconstruction after a mastectomy for breast cancer, first tissue expander in the world that has no magnets. It's MRI compatible, patients can undergo radiotherapy while they have the expander in place. Patients with pacemakers can use it. Patients with insulin pumps cannot use it. Tissue expanders have been in the market since the early 80s, but up to now, all implants relied on a magnet. So imagine a patient with a pacemaker cannot have a tissue expander. If you had an injury in a car while you had an expander, you couldn't even have an MRI for your shoulder. So truly innovative technology that we designed ourselves using RFID technology. And our most recent innovation, which is the Motiva Mia, which is a minimally invasive system, not so much for breast augmentation, but for breast enhancement, which is a full procedure, local anesthesia, minimal scar, that's revolutionizing completely the industry. And as I was telling you, we very proudly say we bring it from Costa Rica to the world. We have a global presence over 80 countries, our headquarters in Costa Rica. We have distribution centers in Brazil and in Europe, in Belgium. And we have many of the markets where we go direct. So most of our European markets, some of our Latin American markets, we go direct. We have our own sales force and our own offices. We also have research collaborations, for example, in the US with MIT, with Rush University, with Montana State University. We have, of course, in Costa Rica with some of the academia here, Manchester University in England, University of Innsbruck at Austria. We also have collaborations in Italy, in Australia, and many more that are growing. And of course, the US and Canada and China, which are the biggest markets that we are currently working to enter. In summary, our experience in Costa Rica, we can tell there's a vast experience in medical devices. You can find very highly talented workforce that know how to make medical devices, know how to design medical devices, know how to speak with regulators, how to speak with auditors, how to put in place a quality management system. And they've done it before. It's not like you need to teach them how to do it. So we've had experience for many, many years with the largest companies, everything from Boston Scientific, Edwards Life Science, Philips, Hologic, Medtronic, and people who've gone through that process and have experience in making things happen. Highly qualified personnel. I had the pleasure of teaching at the local university, at the University of Costa Rica. And I can tell you firsthand, the level of our students, the level of our engineers, the level of our personnel does not have anything to envy from, for example, the US. And I lived in the US for a while. I studied and trained in the US. And I truly believe we have very high standards and very high academic achievements and training for our people. Proximity to the US and time zone. So we are in the same time zone, just maybe an hour or 2 hours behind Eastern, an hour or 2 hours ahead of Pacific. And we have many flights daily to the US, 2 hours you're in Miami, 4 hours you're in New York. And that gives you the flexibility to have, of course, lower cost because you don't have to pay what you usually would pay in the US for a facility or for some things that you would need to get in place there. But you are so close that you can have constant movement between the US and Costa Rica. Governmental support, CINDE, Procomer, they are amazing. They really help you with everything. We do have interesting stories when our first product came to be, Costa Rica didn't have a process for registering medical devices developed in Costa Rica. So we had to work with the government to put in place that process and be able to get our free sale certificate. And the government gave us amazing support because they truly believed that this was the future for Costa Rica. We needed to create things here and take it to the world. And as I was telling you before, it's a cost-effective location. You can get very good facilities, very good personnel at a portion of the cost that it will take in the US. And finally, to close, where I believe the opportunities between Costa Rica and Israel, I truly believe in R&D partnerships. We've started it with several companies that have either approached us with ideas or that we've met at different congresses and we've explored opportunities to work together. You will find, even though they might say it's the pura vida way of working, you actually find that our people are highly creative, highly talented, and very well trained. Of course, the manufacturing capabilities, as I was telling you before, I've seen manufacturing sites all over the world, and Costa Rican standards, I truly believe, are the highest standards with regards to manufacturing and quality. Small countries, similar culture. Of course, there are many differences between our cultures. However, that feeling that it's small, that you know everybody, that you have someone to call. I have an interesting story. One of our partners from Israel, his daughter was in Costa Rica spending some time after the army, and she had a medical issue. And he called me and he said, I have this issue with my daughter. I'm worried. I don't know who to call. And in Costa Rica, you always know who to call, right? Because it's a small country, it's a small culture. And I think that's a similarity of what you see in Israel as well. And that's all I have. Toda rabah. And I'm very happy to answer any of your questions at the end. You have my contact information, my email. Feel free to email me any questions that you might have. We're also always happy to show you our facilities if you're ever in Costa Rica and work together into creating even more opportunities in this medical device world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Denise. Thank you very much, Denise, and bravo. I think that was your enthusiasm and motivation comes across very well. And I think you also managed to infuse all of us with that same enthusiasm. And I think I can certainly speak on behalf of all of us who work in the medical device business that we get up in the morning with tremendous motivation to succeed and bring our benefit to mankind, to people who need our help. And so thank you very much. That was a fascinating presentation. I'd like to remind everybody that you have the ability to submit questions to be answered by the panelists. And remember that it's worthwhile utilizing the collective knowledge and experience of the people on the webinar today. So please use that opportunity to submit your questions and we'll have answers in the session later on. So thank you very much. I'd like now to introduce Pilar Madrigal, Investment Advisory Director at CINDE, together with Carlos Sanchez, Life Sciences Sector Leader at CINDE. And they're going to tell us and help really, it's a wonderful connection with the previous presentation, because you can have fantastic science and a good idea. And now I guess we're going to learn from you about how we could use Costa Rica as an operational hub to get our products and ideas out to the market. So we welcome your presentation. Thank you very much.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Ralph. Of course, thank you, Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Consul, and everybody that's joining us today. It's been a pleasure. And Denise, absolutely, you infused enthusiasm into what we're gonna try and showcase in our next slides. I'm very proud here sitting next to my colleague Carolina, who's also going to give us a little bit more about details about Costa Rica. But let me start first by introducing the fact that we do believe that Costa Rica is a breathing lab for MedTech solutions. Denise talked about the fact that they are currently present in 80 different countries around the world. Costa Rica has been positioned today to be a strategic place to access the most important markets worldwide. We have 58 trade partners through 15 or 16 free trade agreements. And from our country, you can access all of them primarily through free trade agreements or through preferential access. So by being in the middle of the Americas, you'll have that opportunity not only for the Americas, but worldwide. Interestingly enough, for everybody to know, we are the second largest exporter of medical devices in Latin America. And we're talking here of a small country of 5.1 million people. And yet we hold a very, very important position in the field of exports of medical devices in our region. We rank, according to the World Economic Forum, the highest in pay and productivity. We're the second in pay and productivity in Latin America. And that has to do a lot with what Denise was talking, which is the quality of our labor force, right? Not only is a fraction of the cost of the United States, but really the quality that she was talking about, that is the secret of our success. The ambassador mentioned about our democracy and our stability. Yes, we are the second most politically stable country in Latin America. This is according to the World Bank. We rank #1 in human capital in Latin America. Also, Denise talked about the quality of the engineers and the people that work with her, and also the people that are studying in the universities. So that's according to the World Economic Forum, that's where we rank. And we have a very comprehensive tax incentive system in Latin America that we're going to talk a little bit more in detail, but this is probably one of the most interesting propositions that we have for investors. Would love Carolina to continue talking about this a little more in detail.
Thank you, Pilar. Well, we're very excited to talk to you about what Costa Rica has to offer. Denise already explained to you a little bit about her own experience in establishment labs. And probably, you know, Costa Rica for its tourism and as a great location to visit, but we are home to 81 medical devices companies here. We pretty much cover the whole human body in all therapeutic areas, as you can see on your left. And we have a lot of commercial synergies between Israel and Costa Rica. Just by being in Costa Rica, you can have access to a lot of free trade agreements that could give you the opportunity to export to the same locations that you currently export from Israel. And that's a great opportunity to invest in here. As Denise said, you will have access to a worldwide market just being here. We're really open economy to trade. So that's what has given us this much opportunity for trade. Let me jump to the next slide. Pili, you go next.
Yes, well, thank you. So also what we wanted to mention here, because I believe it's something that is transitioning and it's a convergence. It's that converging ecosystem that we have in our country. As you can see, the CEO of TIVA has mentioned about this, right? That digitalization plays a key role today in not only on pharmaceuticals, but clearly on the MedTech industry. So it happens to be that in Costa Rica, we not only have a very strong MedTech ecosystem and cluster, as you saw before, but we also host about 16 of the top 100 digital technologies companies with thousands of employees that are providing services from our country to the world. So within 51,000 kilometers, we have a real strong ecosystem of both digital tech and medtech industries. And I think that enables us to really be moving forward into a much more complex and sophisticated type of products that can come out of our country. Go ahead. So we have here quotes. We love to talk about ourselves, but clearly Denise is here and we want to talk about what others say. And as you can see, according to Mr. Shields, who is the VP of Global Technology for Boston Scientific, he says Costa Rica has proven to be a compelling performance-driven location for Boston Scientific. Key drivers for our success at 2 major sites in Costa Rica include highly committed, multidisciplined local talent, cross-divisional engagement, growth into R&D, process development, and lab competencies. So we have here top companies talking about what Costa Rica has to offer. Carolina.
Thank you, Pilar. Let me just jump to the next one. Here's the success story of Boston Scientific. We liked to talk about Costa Rica, but of course we like it better when someone else does that job. And that's the case of the companies that have operations in here. The case of Boston Scientific, it's quite interesting because they start operations in 2004 with a manufacturing site for cardiovascular devices. Then they open a second site in a different business trade park for endovascular devices. In 2014, they established the R&D operation. As Establishment Labs, they have a big team of people working in R&D, more than 200 engineers working in that. And that's pure R&D. That's they started with R&D sustaining, but today they are doing prototypes and patents from here. And that talks very well about the innovation you can have. And in 2018, they opened the commercial division for the region. So from Costa Rica, they are selling the finished products to Central America and South America. And right now, they are one of the biggest employers in the market that have over 4,500 people and more than $32 million in export per year. This is a great success case. And again, it talks very well about the opportunities you will have here in Costa Rica if you invest in here. Also, we know Israel is quite big in digital. We know that you are the startup nation. You have a lot of opportunities in this field for digital technologies. This is just an example of what we have to offer as well in that convergence that Pilar was mentioning before between digital and health. This is our digital record. This is an initiative by the Social Security system here in Costa Rica, which covered 96% of the population. Right now with the COVID-19 crisis, it has been a great tool for physicians to get in contact with patients. You can actually go online on your app and see your clinical records. You can see the appointments that you have had in the past, the diagnostics that you have had in the past, and the doctors can see that information beforehand when you go to an appointment. So it has been great for that convergence that we as a country are trying to promote. And then let me talk to you a little bit more about the fruit sum incentives that Pilar mentioned at the beginning. Basically, this is a commitment between the companies and the government of Costa Rica, and it's by law. So you know that the things won't change in the future. You are granted a certain amount of incentives when you commit to certain investment and employment. For manufacturing and services projects, you can enjoy as low as 0% corporate income tax for 8 years, and then have the next 4 years with a preferential tax of 15%. I think that companies come for the talent, they stay because of the incentives, because most of the companies that we have here, they have continued to grow because of the fiduciary regime incentives. The good thing about this is that if you keep reinvesting in the country, you can have the system reset. You can get another years of incentives just by investing in the country. There are also some permanent incentives that do not expire. For example, a lot of the raw materials for the imports and exports of your products will be duty-free. Also, they will hold in tax on your royalties that you send back to Israel with duty-free. So that's one of the reasons why so many companies have decided for Costa Rica for investment. And Pili, I'll pass it on to you just to tell everyone how we can help them establish their business in Costa Rica.
Absolutely. And thank you again, Carolina. So CINDE is what we call the investment promotion agency. So what our main focus is to make sure that when you do have an opportunity to look at Costa Rica for a potential manufacturing or services facilities, that we are there just pretty much to allow you to plug and play. And when we say that is, you have an idea, you have a company, we do customize your approach, we do business analysis, we develop specific proposals, and we really are a very good and agile investment advisory team. Through the entire process, we help you during the installation. So we give you that roadmap, and we go hand in hand with that installation process. We also introduce potentially, as you're looking into the country and you get more detailed information about potential linkages and service providers in the country as well. Our data will be always, and our commitment is that it is the most reliable and updated data that you will find in Costa Rica in relation to the general operation and investment climate in the country. And then the most important thing is, as we move, what we do is, again, we would love for you to keep on talking to companies. So we do customized agendas in which you can talk to other companies and talk about the good things and potentially other things that might not necessarily be as perfect. We all have goods and we all might have challenges, but the good thing is that you hear from them, so you have the exact picture of what you will find in our country whenever you decide to invest. And with that, I think if we move to the next slide, Carolina, here is the team that will be more than happy to help you. We introduced here Diana, who's from Procomer. She's kind of our star in Israel. We really appreciate all her help. And of course, Carolina, who has been joining me in this presentation, and Irene Pacheco also, who's a specialist also in life sciences. So feel free to reach out. And if you have any questions, if you're more interested in knowing a little bit more or curious, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll be right there for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pilar and Carolina. That was a very informative presentation and gives us a lot to think about. I myself work for a company that has a broad ecosystem of manufacturing facilities from the Far East to Central and Eastern Europe. And so this gives a lot of thought, a lot of food for thought for the future in Latin America, perhaps. We'll be in touch. So I see some of the participants have utilized the opportunity to present some questions for some Q&A, and we're going to invite now Diana to take control of this section of the webinar.
Thank you so much to all the panelists and the audience today. Actually, yes, we got very interesting questions for the participants. I will start with the first one. I think this is going to Denise from Paolo Schiappina. It says, as a global leader in the medical devices testing and certification market, we follow R&D and manufacturing hub in the industry to make investment and setting up local labs and to support those. What is the NIST perspective on the possibility of feasibility and setting up labs in Costa Rica to serve the sector?
And that's a great question. And I actually think there is a big need. We, for example, do most of our testing outside of Costa Rica, because right now we don't have so many labs that are certified, either for bench testing, preclinical testing, animal testing, biocompatibility testing. So I do think there's an important need. I know there are some initiatives from CINDE and from other companies to start working into creating these spaces, but still today there is a big opportunity to create these labs that work together with the companies, that we do a lot of our testing not in-house, right? And we still use a lot of the services in the US or Europe because of a lack of certified labs in Costa Rica. So I hope that answers your question.
I think so. And now Mr. Álvaro Riveros ask you to you, Denise, being establishment lab a multinational company, how you leverage the free trade agreement that Costa Rica has?
Okay, so we are a Costa Rican company, but we're also in the free trade zone. So as Carolina and Pilar were showing you earlier, we have a lot of incentives being at the free trade zone. That so we are exempt for example, import tax or other taxes that might require a free trade agreement if you were not part of a free trade zone. Still, we do leverage from many of these agreements, especially when we export or when we, well, no, mostly when we export many of our products. So I think it makes no difference if you're a Costa Rican company or if you're a foreign company, as long as you have your operation in Costa Rica and you take advantage of all the incentives that government has put in place for manufacturing, export, and also for commercialization.
Thank you so much. It's really, really important question as well to know what is a Costa Rican offer to all the companies that decide to establish a company there. And the last question, because we have a very tight time, is from Lucia Gross. She asked, CINDE is announcing almost every week new foreign direct investment projects and or expansions. What are the main reasons for this rate of success, even through the pandemic situation? Maybe Pilar or Carolina?
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. Great question. I think it's probably one of our main success stories. And just to give you a brief detail of what happened. Our first COVID case was in March 16th, I believe. And within 2 weeks, due to a complete setup of coordination in between CINDE, the government, and the private companies, within 2 weeks, all of the services companies, which employ about 80, all the multinational companies that employ about 81,000 people, they were all transitioned 100% into a remote mode. So every company that you saw there, the Hewlett Packards, the Microsofts, they have thousands of employees. Within 2 weeks, they seamlessly moved into a remote work scenario. The same for manufacturing. They were front of the line and there were essential manufacturing, but the close coordination with them and the government and seeing that on an everyday basis allowed them to continue working, following all protocols, making sure that transportation back and forth from the manufacturing facilities was seamless, establishing all sorts of protocols in order for everybody to be healthy was also a key of the success. So almost, I would say, zero disruption within a week. Everybody, within a couple of weeks, everybody was working, and this allowed the companies to continue to provide their products and services from Costa Rica without any business disruption. Again, this was a very close collaboration, everyday collaboration in between CINDE being the liaison with the private multinational companies and the government of the country. So I think that was the reason of why we have been put there as an example, and companies have continued to trust. And yes, almost every day we announce a new project that comes into our country. We're very proud of that.
And as well, we can invite more companies that want to relocate their operation to Latin America and use Costa Rica as a hub.
Absolutely.
Okay. And now we are very close with time, I think, Mr. Ralph. For now, we're gonna stop the Q&A sections, and all the questions they can write to us and write us an email, and we can continue after the webinar.
Excellent, Diana. Thank you for your assistance and on this on this very special day for you. So thank you very much. Before I ask Mr. Eric Scharf, the president of CINDE, to provide his closing remarks, I'd just like to say how interesting and fascinating this has been. And I would say also, Mr. Scharf, I'd say thank you very much to your very dedicated team of professionals, to Gabi, Diana, Carolina, Irena, Pilar, and I hope I haven't missed anybody else. And I think you should definitely consider setting up a business division to provide professional consultancy services, how to run a webinar, because they've done a very, very good job in organizing everything. So thank you, of course, everybody for being here. And I think this has been very useful. And I'd like to invite Mr. Scharf to provide closing remarks for this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ralph, and good morning all in Costa Rica and in this side of the world. צהריים טוב בישראל, שלום לכולם, נחמד מאוד להיות איתכם היום. Before starting my words, just about what Ralph was saying, we always say, and we have said some of the panelists, that the talent, that the Costa Rican talent is one of our most important advantages, competitive advantages to attract foreign investment. Well, I always add another argument to that, and I always say that the talent that we have in CINDE, all these people, Pilar and Carolina, and all our team, is our most important competitive advantage for CINDE to be so successful. So thank you very much for your comment, and I fully agree with you. We have a very professional team. Well, let me start by remembering a little bit what we have been all living in this last year that we know. Obviously, this past year was full of challenges for everyone on a personal, corporate, national, and global level. And even so, for the 5th year in a row, multinationals in Costa Rica generated a record number of jobs in 2020, creating almost 20,000 employments in the country. We were also able to achieve a record number of 81 investment projects. This is 2020, I'm talking about year 2020, out of which 26 were new companies and 55 were reinvestments of already established companies, be it new lines of business or growth of current operations. And this shows how attractive and convenient Costa Rica is for foreign investors. And why do we think this happened regardless of the pandemic? I might repeat a little bit of the comments that other panelists have said, but it was surely not a matter of chance or luck. That's for sure. Costa Rica proved how the business ecosystem we have can be the right ally to deliver on response, resilience, and reimagination. As Pilar was saying, in a matter of days after the beginning of the pandemic, we were able to have 98% of our service companies in our free trade zone regime fully working from home. That means organizing or reorganizing the working structure of 70, almost 80,000 people in just a few days. Manufacturing operations, even those as essential as life sciences or advanced manufacturing companies, did not shut down as it happened in many other countries in the world. And a comprehensive follow-up of health authority procedures, as Pilar was saying, were implemented to ensure people's safety. This was done through this private-public coordination and collaboration that was mentioned already, including bi-weekly meetings with the leadership of Ministry of Foreign Trade, over 20 business chambers, CINDE as the investment agency, and Procomer, obviously, as the exports agency. This was a very, very intense work and coordination, but it allowed us to guarantee business continuity of our companies. And that has been key for the image that Costa Rica created throughout the pandemic. That's why in 2020, during the pandemic, our MedTech exports grew 4% to reach $3.16 billion. And we continue, as we said before, to be the second largest exporter of medical devices in Latin America, with a clear evolution and sophistication of end-to-end processes. Our services exports that have grown so much in the last few years are nearly double the OECD countries' ratio of 27%. And in 2020, knowledge-intensive services represented $3.77 billion in exports. These are very big numbers for a small country like Costa Rica, and even for larger countries. And we were talking about the foreign investment policy that Costa Rica has applied, which has allowed us to insert our country in a global value chain, establishing trade agreements with over 58 countries, including US, China, Singapore, South Korea, Europe, you name it, the most important markets and big markets for exports. So the pandemic actually was a great opportunity for Costa Rica to stand out. אתם גם עשיתם עבודה מצוינת בישראל עם קורונה, כולם בעולם יודעים את זה, זה טוב שכבר חזרתם לחיים כמעט נורמליים, אבל אנחנו בדרך בקוסטה ריקה. But let me continue with my presentation. Supply chain disruptions from COVID-19 pandemic in many countries, not in Costa Rica, have stimulated nearshoring end-to-end markets, reshaping supply chains so that they are not only lean, but resilient, as we have proved happened in Costa Rica. Business challenges have changed. They have moved beyond just gaining greater market share or growth at any cost towards seeking that growth in the best way. Costa Rica, as we were saying before, offers an ecosystem where human talent, sustainability, and technology pave the way for development. technology leaders, life sciences giants, smart manufacturing innovators, and environmentally committed multinational companies are thriving in our country with a young, savvy, and creative population. And once again, the Costa Rican talent is one of our strongest competitive advantages. Costa Rica indeed delivers on the triple bottom line. We say always people, planet, and prosperity, which is our country value proposition or formula that we offer to foreign investors. So we offer the ideal melting pot for crosswise collaboration where manufacturing, knowledge-intensive services, and health and well-being meet to design life-centered solutions. Innovation, research, and development are taking place in Costa Rica today, becoming the next natural step in value chain of the operations of companies that are already operating or currently operating in the country and of those who are yet to come. CINDE has been in operations for almost 40 years, advising and guiding over 300 multinationals in Costa Rica with a commitment to excellence that positions us as the #1 investment promotion agency in the world, as recognized by the International Trade Center. That's right, that's a #1 prize, world prize that we have won in Costa Rica, which is very important for us with the hard work that CINDE does supporting foreign investors. So please count on us for any support, any advice that we can give you when analyzing possible future investments in Costa Rica. We really look forward to continuing to be a strategic partner to reach sustainable productivity and drive investment with purpose into Costa Rica. Before finishing my participation, I would like to sincerely thank the Israel Latin America Chamber of Commerce, the Embassy of Costa Rica in Israel, the Procomer office in Israel, the Embassy of Israel in Costa Rica, and obviously our success story, Establishment Labs. So thank you very much, all of you. And תודה רבה לכולם. ברוכים הבאים לקוסטה ריקה. לא רק לעשות עסקים, אבל גם לטייל במדינה מאוד יפה. תודה רבה. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric. That was a beautiful way, a wonderful way to complete this very useful webinar. And thank you again, everybody, for your participation, to the panelists and for the organizers. Thank you. And here you can see everyone's details if you wish to get in contact with them.